to the final score with Stevie Fly.
What's up, guys? It is Tuesday night, March 24th. Final score is on the air. We haven't done haven't done a weekly show in a while. We've had two or three interviews here lately, but we haven't done a weekly show. There's a lot of catching up to do, but hope everybody's doing well. This weather is, like I said, if you didn't see the live this morning, this weather has got me uh, all messed up. Mother Nature can't make up her mind. 83 degrees one day, 50, 40s the next day. Come on, let's just do one thing or the other. I'm ready for warmer weather. I'm ready for it to stay. I'm ready to be in shorts, be outside, soaking in the sun. I couldn't do it today. Um, so tonight, we will be covering a little bit of everything. Uh, See, I'm wearing my Orioles hat. Major League Baseball season getting ready to start up. Planning on, hopefully, see, my dog even agrees with me. Maybe I'm gonna try. Well, I'm gonna try to pay more attention to baseball this year than I have been in the past. I bought one of these retro Orioles. I'm an Orioles fan from way back. Cal Ripken was the reason I became an Orioles fan back in '82. I guess that was his rookie year that year, but when he burst on the scene, I became an Orioles fan and have been. I pulled for the Braves too, but Braves were the only thing you really got to watch around here on TBS after we got the huge satellite and them direct TV. So up until a few years ago, all you saw were Braves games around here. And we'll also talk about, of course, we're going to talk NFL free agency. We haven't been on here since the free agency period started, and there's still some signings here and there. We'll go over some of the big signs. We won't go over everything, and we'll talk a little bit about the Max Crosby fiasco that happened. That I'm still wondering about that. How that we all know what happened there, but some teams don't want to admit it. Um, yeah, but NFL, we've got draft coming up next month. Almost a little over a month away. Draft will be in Pittsburgh this year. That should be crazy. Hopefully, Pittsburgh makes a big splash to keep the people in Pittsburgh happy. But we'll see about that. But free agent. Well, first of all, let's get to the Max Crosby deal. So the the Friday before free agency starts, and the official NFL year started that Wednesday. I don't remember the exact date. March. It was the first week of March. But you had the period, the that Monday before, you had the legal tampering period where everybody could set up. Pretty much, you might as well say free agency started. People started signing free agents or agreeing to sign free agents. I guess that's how they do it. Well, the Friday before that, the Ravens announced that they had worked out a deal with the Raiders for Max Crosby, and that deal would include two first round picks. The Ravens gave up two first round picks for Max Crosby. Now, Max Crosby's coming off a knee injury. He had surgery. His meniscus, I believe it was his meniscus, I think. So you knew he was coming off a knee injury when you made this deal. Now, I'm no NFL executive, nothing like that. But when you agree to a trade, whether it's official or not, when you agree, you start working on a deal for this trade. Aren't you going to check out everything with that player You're going to do all the research, especially if he's got a knee injury. You're going to do all that before you say, okay, we're going to give you 2 first-round picks for him. So that happens. Everything's good for the weekend. Everybody's talking about how the Ravens have never, even the Ravens fans talking about, they've never give up a first-round pick in a trade for a player before, much less 2. So that was a ballsy move, but the Ravens needed some pass rush. Their pass rush was terrible last year, so they needed to strengthen up their pass rush. So Crosby's there, knee and all. So free agency, the legal tampering period starts. Excuse me, and the Ravens get hit hard. One of the big hits there, Tyler Linderbaum, their center, goes to the Raiders. The Raiders sign him. And, I mean, they get hit. There was a lot of players for the Ravens that left. Some went to New York to be with John Harbaugh. Some went elsewhere. Lindenbaum was a big hit for him. And here's my thinking, and what a lot of other people think. So Tuesday, Crosby is flown in for his physical. So you mean to tell me the Ravens had not looked at any medical records or talked to any doctors about Max Crosby's knee before they made this deal? They handshake deal. And another thing too, every NFL team knew that Max Crosby would not pass a physical if he took one last week. Every NFL team knew it. I mean, it's done. He's not going to pass a physical next week. But all the doctors said he was progressing as scheduled. He would be fine for the start of the year. He would be fine for workouts. So all of a sudden, the Ravens bring him in for the physical. Fine. Bring him into the facility. And Crosby said he could tell there was a difference. The energy wasn't there. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Ravens facility, Cincinnati Bengal Trey Hendrickson is in the facility. They're working out a deal with him. Does this throw up a red flag? Yes. They come back. They tell Crosby, well, we looked at we got our doctors looking and they've got a concern, so they're looking into it. It should be straight. So he gets a call from his agent saying they're backing out of the deal. And then they come in and tell him, we're sending you back to Las Vegas. So, meanwhile, Trey Hendrickson is getting a deal worked out with him on the other side of the building to sign with the Ravens. Now, the difference here between Hendrickson and Crosby is a Raider. He's contracted with the Raiders. So if you want him, you had to give up draft capital, like the 2 first-round picks. Hendrickson is a free agent, so don't have to give up any draft capital. All they have to do is sign him. Does anything clicking up here? The Ravens got cold feet. They saw how much they had been hit by free agency, and they backed out on the deal because they didn't want to give up those 2 first-round picks. Now, later on, we get told Wednesday that Trey Hendrickson signed a deal with the Ravens. And when all this comes out and it is found out, it's publicized that Trey Hendrickson was there working on the deal Tuesday, the Ravens come up with this deal. Oh, yeah, we were hoping to sign Hendrickson and Crosby. No, you weren't. Give me a break. That was just you trying to save face. So they totally within their rights. Don't get me wrong. Totally within their rights to, before it's official at 4:00 on Wednesday, to go to not want to do the trade. But professionalism, if that's a word, maybe I made up a word, is shitty. Excuse my language. It's you don't do things that way. You knew when you were getting into it what his situation was. Now they can come out and say, well, it showed degenerative more than we thought. Okay. Tell me another one. You told a lie with signing Hendrickson and Crosby. That was a lie, because if that was the case, why did you tell him you were going to send him home? It was never anything said. You never tried to work out anything else, a lesser deal. If you wanted him, no. I'm not buying it. And that's not just because I totally dislike the Ravens. I'm a Steelers fan. If it had been any other team, it was a crappy way to do business. It was. I mean, and so now you screwed up the Raiders. Raiders are counting on their cap space without Crosby's salary. They've made all these big signs, and they made some big deals to try to improve their team. And they're counting on two first-round picks. So now you've screwed them up. Now you screwed the other teams that were trying to make a deal with Crosby, which, Dallas was a team that was trying to get Crosby. But they went ahead and made a deal with Green Bay, a trade there, got Rashawn Gary. Technically, Dallas could have said, hey, when they heard all of that, hey, we're nixing the deal with Rashawn Gary. We're going to try to make a deal for Crosby. But it didn't happen. They didn't give it to the Cowboys. They stuck to their word. Unlike the Ravens. And yes, I'm bashing the Ravens. Come at me if you want to. I'd love to. Thank God former ECU Pirate Keaton Mitchell is no longer wearing a Ravens uniform. He's wearing a Chargers uniform. I can handle that. Thank you. Thank you, Ravens, for not re-signing him, because I hated not being able to pull for Keaton in a Ravens uniform. I could pull for Keaton, but I couldn't pull for his team. So now the whole free agency was screwed up. If I'm going to do it from now on, NFL, and I'm going to point at NFL now instead of the Ravens too. From now on, NFL, if they're going to announce something like that, make sure they've done their physicals first before they come in with this crap. And we agreed to this. The legal tampering period, just make free agency start when the actual year starts, instead of going through that stupid mess. It's stupid to have a legal tampering period. Just do it just start the season on that Monday or whenever, and free agency starts then. It's ridiculous. But I'll tell you this. ESPN, my hat's off to you. Pat McAfee show, covering the free agency period, the legal tampering period. They did an excellent job. That's something they need to do every year, and they should have extended the time. They could make that coverage like they cover the NFL draft. Pat McAfee did a great job. The whole crew there. I stayed glued to that just about the whole afternoon while that was going on. But looking at some of let's get to some of the free agency that changed here. We talked about Tyler Linderbaum going from the Ravens to the Raiders. Trey Hendrickson, of course, from the Bengals to the Ravens. Alec Pierce stays with the Colts, gets a big deal there. Jalen Phillips from the Eagles to the Panthers. Eagles lost a lot of players up here, guys. Malik Willis, after Tua gets released by the Dolphins take a chance, get Malik Willis. Green Bay lost some key players too, a backup with Malik, and then Romeo Dobbs signing with the Patriots to give Drake May another weapon there. Um, let's see here. Jalen Watson from the Chiefs to the Rams. That's a big there. Travis Etienne from the Jags to the Saints. So they break up the Etienne. Gosh, what's the quarterback's name? I can't think of his name. The Clemson connection out there. I can never remember that guy's name for some reason. Bradley Chubb from the Dolphins. Dolphins made a lot of. They lost a lot of players. I think they're doing that on purpose. Of course, they trade Minka Fitzpatrick to the Jets. Trevor Lawrence. Thank you, Robert Matthews. My favorite Walmart sweeper right there. Part-time Walmart sweeper right there, Robert Matthews. So let's see who else we got. Kenneth Walker, Super Bowl MVP for the Seahawks, goes to the Chiefs. Mike Evans, the longtime Tampa Bay Buccaneer from the 49ers, goes to the 49ers, from the Buccaneers to the 49ers. If I froze up, because right now my screen's looking like I froze up. There we go. It looks like I'm sorry, guys. Let's see who else goes here. Looking down here. That's pretty much the big ones right there. The Reed Blankenship, another Eagle, goes to the Texans. Javon Hargrave from the Vikings to the Packers. J.K. Dobbins stays with the Broncos. Kenneth Gainwell, big loss for Steelers there. But then Kenneth Gainwell goes to the Buccaneers. But then we signed Rico Dowdle, which was a big sign for us. I think that's going to be a good sign for us. Travis Kelce, of course, yesterday signed a deal. I think it's a 3-year contract to stay with the Chiefs. So Mr. Swift will be there for a little while longer. James Pierre, we lost him to the Vikings. What about the Vikings? Kyler Murray. How about that, John Michael Timberlake? The Vikings get Kyler Murray as their new quarterback, which they didn't have to pay him. But I think it was a veteran minimum because he's still getting paid by the Cardinals. So, I mean, you're taking a chance, but I mean, you're playing with house money there. It's kind of like when the Steelers signed Russell Wilson a few years ago, which that didn't work out too well. But anyway, I'm looking here to see if there's any more names up here. No, nothing really. Like I said, Keaton Mitchell goes to the Chargers. Thank God he's through with the Ravens. Mariota stays with the Commanders. Joe Flacco. How about Joe Flacco re-signing for another year with the Bengals, staying in the AFC North? If he signs with the Steelers, they just need to do that. The next year, let the Steelers sign him as a backup, so he would have played for every team in the AFC North. Nothing big here, but yeah, so free agency. You got some signings, some signings here and there. Come on, but nothing big. Of course, Steelers do get in a trade, which I thought was big for them. Michael Pittman Jr. from the Colts, after the Colts re-signed Alec Pierce. Pittman goes to the Steelers, which I think will be a good deal there for Pittsburgh. They need another weapon with the wide receiver core. Now, what Aaron Rodgers decides to do, I don't know. I mean, I'm hearing that he's definitely coming back, but we don't need for him to wait around until the last minute like he did last year. I mean, if he's going to do it, get in camp. Let's go. Let's do it now. Otherwise, maybe we give Will Howard a chance. I don't know. I would like to see what he's got, but let's see How about flag football, guys? Flag football in the Olympics. This weekend that they had the big games, the exhibition, the U.S. national flag football team against a pair of teams of current and former NFL stars and some random celebrities. Tom Brady was there, which the U.S. Olympic team beat pretty badly both of those teams. I don't know. Odell Beckham made one of his great catches, one handed there, but the quarterback, what's his name? Quarterback for that team, Daryl House Doucette. He looks shifty. I don't know that people talking about. Well, do we want current NFL players to play? Why? Why? I mean, these guys have been playing flag football and are doing a great job. Let's give them a chance in these Olympics, guys, before we go out there and say, well, we got to put the pros in there. And guess what's going to happen? The first time one of these pros gets hurt in the flag football in the Olympics, my hat looks so dang on my head because it's one of these new hats, dude. It's one of these new style hats. It's a big freaking hat, but I like it. I like my. Thank you, Kyle. I almost I almost peed myself when I saw you come on here. Um, but yeah, I did hear interesting story here. 66-year-old Darrell Green, former Washington Redskins Hall of Famer, and the fastest man in the NFL for God knows how many years, wants to try to get a spot on the flag football Olympic team. I think that would be great to have Darrell Green on there. I want to see what he does, and I'm sure he's still in great shape. Oh, I love this. I love this guy. This is the reason why I love Kyle Barber, guys. He just gives me compliment after compliment. Well, yeah, that's a 10-gallon hat on a 6-gallon head. Sounds like a country song. Maybe the Elvis impersonator will sing that one. So yeah, I think these guys need the shot. You give these guys a shot at the Olympics at first. Don't don't uh, don't put it away on the pros. Josh Allen being the quarterback of the Olympic flag football team, he tears an ACL and oh God, never should have done it. Yeah, don't do that. So moving on from the NFL, let's get to March Madness, um, which started this past week. Steve Wright, what's up, my buddy? Hope you're doing okay, man. Go Chiefs. Y'all made some moves. Y'all got Mr. Swift back, so he'll be there another couple of years at least. Um, is college basketball killing the Cinderella team? We That's one thing. Why do you think they call it March Madness? Because of the Cinderella team, because of the upsets. How many upsets have we seen over the year? When I think about March Madness, and first team I go to is the NC State Wolfpack from 1983. Like NC State or not, that team was the Cinderella team, coached by the legendary late great Jim Valvano. This is a team that had to win the ACC tournament. Just, just oh my gosh, rumor going around about Shire taking, and we'll get to Hubert Davis in a minute. I have not heard that rumor. That would never happen. I don't think Shire would come over here for all the money in the world. And yeah, people go mad when their brackets get busted. And Steve, are you in Sonny Pooney's bracket? I think you are, ain't you? Because I'm in it. That's the only one I did. I only did one bracket this year, and I'm doing pretty good in that one right now for the moment. Um, NC State Wolfpack had to win their conference tournament just to make the NCAA tournament, and they beat Michael Jordan. I mean, they get a uh, first round against Wake Forest. they have to. Yeah, yeah, I got you, buddy. Yeah, my prayers are still with Steve and his family. Keep you guys keep that family in your prayers. Um, but yeah, they beat Wake Forest with 2 free throws with time running out. Then they go take on Carolina, which had Michael Jordan, Sam Perkins, among others. Carolina was loaded, and they beat Carolina in overtime. And then comes Virginia, and a lot of you people, well, people my age will remember this guy, but some of you young people won't remember Ralph Sampson, who was like one of the most dominating big men in college basketball. 7'4", out of Virginia, National Player of the Year, a couple years in a row at least. And he was dominant. I mean, really dominant. NC State went in there and beat them. And then you get the NCAA tournament. Uh, they get in a wild double overtime win against Pepperdine. Um, and then they move on, and it's like Cinderella. They beat a big UNLV team. Then they have to come up and face Virginia again, Ralph Sampson again, for the fourth time that year. And they get a win on the last second shot. Um, and they started calling them the Cardiac Pack, the Cinderella team. Final four bound. I think they beat Georgia in the semifinals. And then it was Akeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler, among others, the Houston Cougars. I almost called them the Rockets because both of them played for the Houston Rockets in the NBA, believe it or not. The Phi Slamma Jamma. I remember looking at newspaper articles, and one of the reporters said the NC State's best chance to win this game is Houston's bus wreck on the way there. Well, guess what happened, guys? NC State gets a win on a last second slam dunk with a former guest of the show, Derek Wittenberg, with a Hail Mary or whatever you want to call it. He claims it was a pass. To this day, it was a shot. And Lorenzo Charles dunks at the late Lorenzo Charles dunks at the end with time runs out, and NC State gets to win 54-58. That's March Madness. That's when March Madness started for me. And now you don't see that anymore. You saw a little glimpse of with High Point getting an upset win over Wisconsin, which they fell back down to earth against Arkansas. And Duke, let me tell y'all, Siena, coached by, I think, Jerry McNamara from Syracuse, who took the Syracuse job today or yesterday. Siena has two more players that can come off the bench. Duke might be sitting at home right now. First game jitters for some of these guys in the tournament. And Siena led most of that game. Their 5 starters played all but 10 seconds of that game. And the only reason they didn't play the entire game is one of them fouled out with 10 seconds left. So he's a local guy, huh? So he's got he's going in to the big time now. He did a good job with Siena. I'll put it that way. I swear, guys, and not just because I don't like Duke, but like I said, if they'd had 2 players that could come off that bench and give some of these guys a breather, because at the end of that game, Siena, near the end, the last 10 minutes especially, Siena took some terrible shots. And that's a sign of fatigue. Everything was coming short. They were taking bad shots. Duke feasted off that. And, Duke got their bearings with them in the next round and whipped up on TCU 81-58. So they're back on track again. But you don't see these Cinderella teams anymore. And that's not good for college basketball, guys, in my opinion. I know Texas is an 11 seed, but Texas is Texas. They've got that pedigree. This is not a High Point. This is not a Davidson or a Butler, teams like that, or Gonzaga back in the day. Texas has that reputation for being there. So I don't really count them as what you would say a Cinderella. So let's get to the the next games, which Friday game, Duke versus St. John's, number 1 versus number 5 seed. I picked St. John's to beat Duke in this game. I hope I'm right. I hope I'm right. St. John's. Yeah, and unfortunately, Lorenzo Charles died. Had a heart attack driving that bus too, and died. Yeah, Lorenzo Charles did. He drove a bus in Raleigh, but yeesh. uh but yeah, Duke and St. John. I hope and I'm going picking all these games before the tournament started. Um, that I had St. John's. St. John's was on a roll. Actually, St. John's got a big win against Kansas last second there, but they went down early in that game against Kansas. That was the first time they had been behind in over a month. So St. John's is playing good ball right now. So I've got them winning that. UConn and Michigan State, 2 versus 3. I got UConn winning this. I got UConn beating Michigan State. As much as I don't like the Hurley guy, I think they're looking to get back. Um, I know he's a lively guy. He likes to get technicals, but I think they're gonna beat UConn. So Iowa, Nebraska. I didn't have Florida. I had Florida going down here. I think Iowa upset the defending national champions. Excuse me, guy. Um, but I'll I'll take Iowa here. I think Iowa gets the upset over Nebraska. So we got Illinois and Houston. Forgetting who I picked here. I'll go with Houston here. I'll go with Houston. Tennessee and Iowa State. Iowa State there. Kentucky gets put out by Iowa State. It did my heart good to see Kentucky get beat by 19 points from over by Iowa State. Virginia gets upset. I have Virginia beating Tennessee. So Michigan and Alabama. I've got Michigan winning here. Uh, Spoiler alert: I've got Michigan winning the national championship. Um, they look like a complete team. I think they take it all. Texas and Purdue. I got Purdue beating Texas. Texas 11 seed. Got wins over BYU, Gonzaga, and now Purdue playing the 6-3 and now the 2 seed. We'll see how that goes for Texas. Arizona and Arkansas. Oh, Arizona, but I think it's close. Arkansas is playing good right now too. So we'll see how that goes this weekend, guys. March Madness is here. We're right in the middle of it. It won't be long before it's over, and it'll be time for NFL football again, guys. But so baseball starts. I think tomorrow night. Robert, if you're out there, I know you keep up with baseball more than I do. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Netflix has the opening night game instead of ESPN, which I think is sacrilegious. Um, but yeah, Robert, is it tomorrow night that the Yankees and the Giants? I think is the opening night game. But okay, I get the whole deal with Netflix being we want to move everything streaming and all this. You know, some of these some of these people don't do streaming. I know my mom and my uncles during football season, especially like Christmas Day when they did the Christmas Day Netflix games and the Prime games. They're like, "Why is this going to be on regular TV where I can see it?" No, sorry, because you don't want to do that. But it's where it's going to. I truly believe, and whatever. I just don't like it. I don't like change. I'm a grumpy old man. But baseball, like I said, I don't keep up with it much. I couldn't tell you right now. I know the Dodgers won the World Series last year over the Mariners, um, and that's about it. I need to keep up with. I need to catch up on it. Maybe I need to get a fantasy baseball team and check that out, and maybe that'll help me keep up with the players better. But fantasy baseball is so hard to play. It's not like football where you change the lineups once a week. You just fantasy baseball. You got to do it daily, and then you. I think is that the one where you only get a certain amount of times with a player or something like that. I don't know. I'll check it out, but maybe that'll help me. And look, back when I bought baseball cards, that was that helped me keep up with the players better than anything. You know, I had baseball. I still have all of them back there. I need to go through some of them, but yeah, I'm gonna try to keep up with it more. Steve, if you're out, I don't know if Steve Wright's still out there. You're boss Giants Yankees. Okay, I was right. Um, why so by? Okay, I know brand names, guys. You know the Yankees are a big brand name, but shouldn't the MLB do like kind of like the NFL does? Whoever wins the World Series opens up like opening night. Shouldn't that be something instead of giving it to the Yankees? The Yankees didn't make it to the World Series. I mean, so what? Give them a little more incentive there. Give the World Series champions their due. Let them play opening night on Netflix or get somebody. Stupid Yankees. I don't like the Yankees, guys. Sorry, I don't like the Yankees. The, you can say what you want to. They are the evil empire. You know that there's Yankees, and I know other teams do it. Dodgers do it too now, but the Yankees were the first ones that I remember that were guilty of just. And I say this word. Uh, well, I won't use that term. Of just taking every team. Let's say, for instance, the Royals, Kansas City Royals. They draft a guy, move him through their farm system. He becomes an all-star. His contract's up. Yankees can offer him 10 times more than what the Royals can, being a small market team. Where do you think that guy's going? For a long time, you hardly ever saw any Yankees come out of their farm system. Derek Jeter came from their farm system. There's probably a few others, but most of the time, that's all they did. The small market teams were a farm league for the Yankees to fill out their lineups. I remember the Oakland A's with Jason Giambi. A's couldn't sign him back. Yankees had no problem doing that. They offered him a ton of money. So yeah, it just they to you need a salary cap in baseball. I'm sorry if people may disagree with me. I'll stick to that. I'll stand on that soapbox till my dying days, till they do it. And they probably never will do it because teams like the Yankees and the Dodgers, Red Sox, they'll be Red Sox went through a spell where they were doing it. So, but has it really been that bad with the Red Sox lately? Robert, I know you're a Red Sox fan, but I just wanted to see the Red Sox beat the Yankees. And if somebody could come up and do the same thing the Yankees want, give them a taste of their own medicine, that was fine with me. And I still feel that way. Get just anybody but the Yankees. There is no team in Major League Baseball that I would pull for against the Yankees. I mean, I'd pull for the Yankees against them. Excuse me. No team. So we'll see. Have I told you I'm not a Yankees fan? Yeah, but all right. So one of the things I asked a few weeks ago, guys, was I put on my Facebook that a death of a athlete that affected you more than others. and I got a lot of good responses up here. Most of them were who I expected in the group because they were the most popular. They were the ones that stood out. I mean, and we're going to go through these today, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how they affected me as well. So, the first one we have is a professional wrestler, and there's a couple of professional wrestlers up here. Um, Owen Hart, the Canadian royal family of wrestling, the Hart family. Uh, Owen was a second generation wrestler, the younger brother of Brett, who was making his own name in the WWE, and unfortunately met a tragic end to his life with a freak accident at a pay per view in 1999 over the edge, where he had taken on the role of a character that he played when he first came into the WWE. It was WWF at the time, but the Blue Blazer, and he had been descending like on a guide wire coming down from high up. I don't know if it was from the ceiling these other times or not, but he'd been coming down and like he was flying. And this night he was supposed to do that, and unfortunately, a malfunction on his harness with a clasp that wasn't that broke. Um, Owen fell to his death, fell in the ring, hit the turnbuckle, fell back in the ring, and it was gone. Um, I remember that night. I knew the pay per view was going on. I did not get that pay per view, but I was checking ever so often on the wrestling website to see what was going on, seeing the results, and pops up on the screen. Owen Hart has has died. I thought it was a joke at first, and then stuff started coming in, and because Owen was a talented wrestler, guys. I mean, and it was sad. It affected me. It did affect me. And then the next night on Raw to see the wrestlers coming out, and it was kind of the first time you see them come out and come out of that kayfabe character and talk, because some of the guys that were heels and baby faces were talking about their time with Owen and talking about their relationship with Owen. So that was the first time you really saw something like that on a national scale with the WWF especially. Um, the next wrestler was and Chuck Gans, who was a guest on the podcast a few weeks ago. He was the one that submitted Owen Hart. The next wrestler was Bray Wyatt. Greg Acree, my good friend Greg Acree, he submitted Bray. Bray was the another member of a big time wrestling family. The Blackjack Mulligan's grandson, Mike Rotunda's son, Barry Windham's nephew. Um, Bray was making a name for himself, and I think Bray, was it COVID that got him first? Um, think so. COVID-19 infection. He took a hiatus from wrestling in February of that year. That was 2023. He took some time off, and then word started coming out um, in August. In August, August 24th, 2023, at the age of 36, Bray Wyatt died of a heart attack. um, Bray he had that character. I mean, that Bray Wyatt character. His real name was Wyndham Rotundo. Um, but he had that character, that Bray Wyatt character down, and that could have been big. He had it down enough to where the Undertaker pretty much gave him like, you're the next generation. in the ring one night, and we'll never know what the Undertaker told him that night unless the Undertaker's not going to come out and tell us. But Bray Wyatt, a talented guy, gone way too soon. Who knows what we could have got from him if he was still around, and unfortunately, he left us way too soon. Willie Keel, first of NASCAR drivers here. Greg Biffle, who just passed away in December 18, 2025, in a plane crash. Greg Biffle was a long-time NASCAR driver. He was one of the top guys for a long time. He also, after his retirement with the hurricanes that went through the western part of the state of North Carolina, he had a pilot's license, and he was taking his helicopter net and moving people out. This is something he didn't have to do, but he wanted to do it. Private jet registered to Greg Biffle crashed while attempting to land. 7 people aboard the plane died. His wife and both of his children, the pilots, and another guy that was a hauler driver. Tragic situation. But yeah, Willie Keel submitted Greg Biffle. Let's see. I'm going down by. Let's go to Pat Tillman. Deion Johnson, former ECU Pirate. Pat Tillman, who made the ultimate sacrifice for his country. Pat Tillman played for the Cardinals and decided after September 11th that he was going to quit football and join the Army Rangers. And he was killed in Afghanistan and came out, he was killed by friendly fire. But that doesn't change anything. This guy laid down his life for his country. He could have very well sat there and had a great NFL career. He was on his way. And he just decided, I'm gonna join the Army Rangers. I'm gonna go fight for my country. So him and his brother both signed up at the same time, and he gave his life for this country, man. And I mean, Deion, I appreciate you submitting Pat Tillman. Karen Woodard Bryant submitted Thurman Munson, the New York Yankee, I believe he was a catcher. So in August of 1979, he had been flying airplanes for over a year. He purchased a Cessna jet with a Yankee blue interior so he could fly home to his family on off days. He ends up on August 2nd, 1979, practicing takeoffs and landing with another friend. Got clearance for takeoff and 3 touch-and-go landings, which were completed. While on approach for the 4th and final landing on a different runway, he did not extend the flaps and allowed the aircraft to sink too low before increasing the engine power, causing the jet to clip a tree and fall short of the runway. Plane hit a tree stump and burst into flames. It's and that was during baseball season, guys. I mean, we've had a few of them happen. I know, I can't remember their names. 2 Cleveland Indians were killed in a boat wreck on their off day back in was it the 80s or the 90s? I think it was in the 90s. I cannot remember their names. But yeah, I know he played with Catfish Hunter. Um, just sad. All of these are sad guys. But I wasn't old enough really to remember a whole lot about this. Um, I know some of his executives with the Yankees were begging George Steinbrenner to trade him to Cleveland so he could be closer to home because they were afraid that if he kept flying, he was going to kill himself. So that's what happens. Um, Steve McNair, one of our Facebook followers, James Ben, submitted him. Also, Casey Fleet submitted him. Steve McNair was a talent, guys. I mean, out of a small college, Alcorn State, you started hearing about this guy leading up to the uh, to the 1995 draft. I remember watching him in college, watching some games of his in college, and I had newspaper clippings of him in some of my books in here. Uh, Guy was so talented, but I was like, will he make it in the NFL? Boy, he showed real quick. He ends up taking the Titans to the Super Bowl. Him and Eddie George team up and take the Titans to the Super Bowl, and they come about that close to tying the Rams and getting maybe winning that Super Bowl. Come up a little bit short. Tragically, it was a murder suicide with a woman that he was he had been with. 20-year-old woman. They were linked romantically. Uh, all of these stories are just, he's taken way too soon too. I mean, he had retired from the NFL, but he was my age. I mean, he's a few months older than me. February 14th, 1973. It's just sad. I know he played for the Ravens. I'm not going to hold that against him. But yeah, Steve McNair was a legend. Still is a legend. Um, Speaking of legends, the Jackson Pirates, who Facebook follows, the legendary Minister of Defense, Reggie White, longtime Philadelphia Eagle, Green Bay Packer, Carolina Panther, Washington Redskins, believe it or not. People forget about that. That he was, he did not play for the Redskins. He played for the Panther. I'm sorry. I thought he went. Bruce Smith was the one that went to the Redskins. Excuse me. Um, I do remember, I want to say this was like on a Monday, the day after Christmas, and he was in North Carolina. December 26, 2004, at the age of 43. He died, and was it a heart attack? Arrhythmia, most likely because of the arrhythmia, was cardiac and pulmonary sarcoidosis. Sorry if I did that. It's also stated sleep apnea, which White had been diagnosed, may have contributed to his death. Um, Reggie White was a beast. I mean, that little hip toss he did on the offensive lineman. I've seen him take some big offensive linemen, and he was the key to the Green Bay Packers winning the Super Bowl. Him coming over in free agency, that was really the biggest free agency, the one that started all. That was the first big free agency deal there, and it worked out pretty well for him and the Packers because he finally got that Super Bowl that had eluded him with the Eagles, and the Packers got their Super Bowl back. They had good teams while he was there. I know he was still putting up pretty good numbers with Carolina before he retired. But the last year, 98 with Green Bay, is that 16 sacks? 16 sacks in 98. And then 5.5 with Carolina in his last year in 2000. His best season was 21 sacks and 87 with Philly. And also played with the Memphis Showboats in the USFL, which people don't realize that. But yeah, Reggie White, thank you, Jackson Pirates, for putting that in. Davey Allison, another NASCAR driver, which Bailey and K Pope put this in. Now I was at that time, let's see, 93. I was 20, get ready to turn 20. I had been a Bobby Allison and Davey Allison fan when I first started watching NASCAR. I was a Bobby Allison fan first. Davey Allison drove the 28 car. Uh, Another tragic accident. A helicopter. He was flying helicopters and went to land at a track on that Friday. I think that was the Friday for qualifying. Um, yeah, well, no, he actually went to the track to watch a friend Neil Bonnet's son David Bonnet test a car, and he was tempted to land the helicopter beside a fenced-in area of the track when the craft nosed up suddenly, then crashed. Um, he was unresponsive, could not be freed till paramedics arrived. Allison never regained consciousness after sustaining a critical head injury, pronounced dead at 7 o'clock a.m. the next morning. Um, that one hit. That one did hit me hard because I was a fan of Davey Allison, and to see something like that, you see the ones later on. Of course, we're going to talk about another NASCAR driver in just a few minutes. But to see these guys, especially when you see them, it's never good. But seeing them so young, and Davey was in the prime of his career, and to see him taken away like that is just, and see Bobby Allison. No parent should have to bury one of their children, and see him have to do that. It's. Oof. All right, so Chris Hall, another former ECU Pirate. This was one that affected me too. Hank Gathers, loyal Marymount basketball player. This guy, you look at him playing, big dude, put together dude, looked like nothing could take this guy down. He played on a Loyola team with Bo Kimball. Paul Westhead was his coach. They were scoring over 100 points a game easy every game. He was named a player of the year of his conference. He was second team All-American his senior year. And he was diagnosed with an abnormal heartbeat in his senior year after he collapsed during a game. They put him on meds. A few weeks later, he returns. He struggles, and he's weak. He's saying that's because of the medication he's taking. So they decreased his medication, and his play recovered. And in the 1990 WCC tournament, he collapses and unfortunately dies from, I'm guessing, heart attack. He was, like I said, so put together. I mean, this guy looked like a beast. I mean, his arms, he was in shape. It was just his time, I guess, the guys. I mean, should they have? He scored 48 points that year, in his senior year against LSU, against Stanley Roberts was guarding, and guess who else? Shaquille O'Neal. I do remember after he passed, Loyola makes the NCAA tournament, and Bo Kimball, in a tribute to Hank Gathers, because Hank Gathers had trouble shooting free throws, and I think he shot left-handed. And Bo Kimball would do his free throws with that one left hand. He'd shoot left-handed in a tribute to Hank Gathers. That one, I remember seeing that on ESPN, the collapsing, and seeing it all that day, and it was just scary to watch because you knew that guy died. I mean, and I was familiar with LaLoya then too, with Bo Kimball and Hank Gathers. So that was, excuse me, that was pretty sad. And they made a movie about his life later on, which it was a pretty good movie, I guess. I haven't seen any or heard anything from Bo Kimball in a long time. I wonder what Bo Kimball is doing now. So let's get to the ones with the most. No way we're taking away anything from any of these. Sean Taylor, James Ben, and Steve Hill submitted Sean Taylor. Sean Taylor was the talented safety for the Washington Redskins. Um, College football in Miami, Florida was dominant and was well on his way to being a dominant safety in the NFL. I mean, one of the hardest hitting safeties you'll ever see. And can you imagine the NFL, how the NFL would have been with Sean Taylor, um, Troy Polamalu, and Ed Reed at safeties? On the night of November 26, 2007, while he was at his home, he heard noises in his house, and while he was investigating the cause, was shot in the leg by a home intruder. His femoral artery was severed, causing extensive blood loss. He was rushed to the hospital where he died the following day on November 27th, 2007, at the age of 24. Four men ages from 20, 17, 19, and 18 were arrested. More than one confessed. All four men were charged with felony second-degree murder, armed burglary, home invasion, robbery with fire, which carry a maximum of life in prison. A fifth suspect, a 16-year-old, was charged with first-degree murder and burglary. All the murder charges were subsequently increased to first-degree murder. The death penalty was not sought because the gunman was 17 years old. And there was a mastermind of the burglary plan. He was also found guilty of first-degree murder and armed burglary and given a life sentence. And this is just a guy trying to take care of his family, trying to protect his family, guys, trying to make a life for himself. And no telling, you would have had the top three safeties, maybe in NFL history, right there playing at that same period of time if Sean Taylor had still been around. Next up, Kobe Bryant, Willie Keel, Jonas Pope, Aaron Brett. Now, I do remember exactly what I was doing, where I was at when I found out about Kobe. I was at work on a Sunday afternoon, and word started coming over my phone, that Kobe Bryant had passed. And you know how you get these things on, especially now. When this happened, it wasn't as bad. But when you kept seeing it pop up, and then you see the big fellows of social media reporting. Um, January 26, 2020, at 9:06 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, His helicopter departed from John Wayne Airport in Orange County, California. 9 people aboard. Bryant, his 13-year-old daughter, Gianna, 6 family friends, and the pilot were killed. Light rain and fog that morning. Most helicopters and other air traffic were grounded. The helicopter circled above Glendale, California due to heavy air traffic. And I don't know. I mean, maybe it was the fog. They didn't see the mountain. But, yeah, one of the legends, one of the best players to ever play in the NBA, better than LeBron, was killed, taken away from us. Was I that big of a Kobe fan? No, but I respected Kobe as one of the best players in it. The closest thing to Michael Jordan we have seen. And it's, I mean, this is just tragic, guys, to see it, and to see his daughter, who had that same, they said had that same mentality that he did. I just remember Kobe on a late night talk show. I don't know if he had retired then or not. The Lakers were struggling. They come off like a 6 or 7 game losing streak, won the game, and they were celebrating like they won the NBA championship. And when they showed the clip of them celebrating and went it back to Kobe, he was just like, and they were like, "What would you have done then?" And he looked at him like, "What do you think I would have done?" But yeah, he had that mentality, guys, and to play with some of the injuries he played with, Kobe was one of the legends of the NBA, no doubt. Let's go back to another NASCAR driver, and probably the greatest NASCAR driver, Dale Earnhardt Sr., the Intimidator. The man you love to hate. And he didn't care. He loved getting the booze. This one was submitted by Bruce Foddy from the Hooked on Sonnets podcast. Mark Coggins, Denise Bryant Fleetwood, Brandon Bailey, a.k.a. Preston Quinn, Melissa Fly, and Rich Burkett. A lot of people say after his death, NASCAR was never the same, which I'll agree with that 100%. And did it doing what he loved to do at Daytona, the last lap of the Daytona 500. It looked like he was protecting his drivers ahead of him, Michael Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt Jr. And he just went into the wall, and it didn't really to look at it. It's not you see cars flip, go up in the air, go all the way around, hit the side of the wall harder. I've seen a lot worse wrecks than that, but it hit just right. Fractured his skull. And he was gone. I was at my parents' house watching with my dad. And word started coming out that something had happened to him when we were about to leave. I was like, "Oh, he's might be hurt. You can't." And I wasn't a Dale Earnhardt fan, but I said, "You can't kill the Intimidator." And get home, and you see the same thing on turn 4. We lost Dale Earnhardt, and that really hit me. I'll never forget seeing the late night video Junior that he made talking about it. It was really eerie. It was almost like a family member. To tell you the truth, it was like you was just like, what? You just couldn't believe it. But yeah, that to this day, I don't think NASCAR has ever been the same. They had some years after him but then they forgot where they came from. Do I think NASCAR would have been going global or national, and shutting down some of these tracks that made them what they are. If Earnhardt Sr. was around, no, I think he would have. I think he had some pull where that wouldn't have happened. Last but not least, and this one really affects me. This is another one. I remember where I was when this happened. Um, Len Bias, Maryland Terrapin, legendary NCAA player. This was submitted by Spencer Chestnut, Steve Barnes, Neil Callahan, John Murphy, Robert Robbins, Robert Matthews, and Chris Hall. Talking about Hank Gaddis, about a guy that was put together and just looked like an athlete. Len Bias. I mean, he could do it all, guys. I know a lot of people talk about it, and I would love to see how it would again. Drafted by the Celtics. Can you imagine the battles him and Michael Jordan would have had? And all gone away. Cardiac arrhythmia induced by a cocaine overdose. The night after he was drafted by the Celtics. I know he was with some of his friends, teammates at Maryland. If you haven't seen the 30 for 30 on that, you should watch it. And if you haven't seen the highlights of this guy playing, he single-handedly beat Carolina one night at the Ding Dome. I mean, he was awesome. I was actually at church camp because I knew, you didn't have cell phones then, of course. I'm old. And I would get to talk to my parents. And my mom, she kept up with basketball. The draft had happened. And, excuse me, draft had happened. And she was talking about Len Bias going to Boston. And the next day, when I talked to her, she was like, "You're not gonna believe this, but Len Bias is dead." Because you didn't have TVs down there, you didn't have social media then, you didn't know. This was no texting, there's no phones like that, and you hear Len Bias is dead, and I'm like, and that's really the first time that I had to deal with a death of an athlete that affected me. Just looking at this, yeah. Bias was the first one, and I mean, of course, it was all over the news. They said that was the first time he'd ever used cocaine. But yeah, another talent taken way too soon, and talking about way too soon. 22 years old, first round, second overall pick, and the Celtics had been said they had been planning to draft him for 3 years. No telling what he could have done with the Celtics. And like I said, the matchup with Michael Jordan over the years with the Celtics and the Bulls, that would have been monumental. Who knows if Michael Jordan would have won the NBA championships he did. It depended on what the Celtics put around Len Bias. And that was a big setback for the Celtics, too. That was going to be their future. That was going to be transitioning from Larry Bird to Len Bias. And now he's gone, just like that. All these deaths were tragic and affected, most of these affected me in one way or the other. Some I wasn't old enough to the Thurman Munson when I wasn't old enough for it to affect me, but the others all affected me in one way or the other. Some more than others because I was bigger fans of them, but they were all just as important. Thank you guys for submitting who you thought affected you. I know it was a good output, but rest in peace to all these guys, and I mean, I'm sure there'll be others to come, unfortunately. But anyway, so March Madness will continue Thursday night and go all weekend. And then we'll have one more weekend with the Final Four and the National Championship that Monday night. So baseball season getting ready to start. And I'm froze up again, I think. There we go. We'll see how long I'll stick with that. You guys got to hold me accountable on the baseball deal. Anyway, guys, that's episode 199. I guess getting ready to do episode 200 of the Final Score. Should have been more if I hadn't taken some time off, but I'm back now. Hopefully, episode 200 will be something special. I'm working on some stuff. We'll see. But you guys have a great week. Have a great weekend. Thank you for everything. Thank you for watching. If you have time and can do it, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Or if you're streaming this, wherever you stream this is at, whether it's Apple, Spotify, whatever, give me a 5-star review. It costs you nothing to do. You don't even have to put a description or anything. Just give me the 5-star review. It helps a lot to get the podcast out there. That way I can get some more guests in here. And, it helps get the podcast noticed. So you guys have a great week. We'll see you next time on the Final Score. And sometimes